It is Wednesday. This is SportsBookReview.com's NFL show, and we are designed to get you ready for opening day between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. Both myself and Kyle going team by team, division by division, conference by conference to lay the groundwork for a sensational 2020 NFL season. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. Kyle, welcome in. Look, hey, we talked NFC East with my passion about the Philadelphia Eagles, but today I see you're wearing red. The microphone is red. There's two red teams out in the NFC. Is it the Cardinals you like? Is that the Cardinals?
It's definitely not the Cardinals, although they are an attractive team this year. Of course, I'm a lifelong 49ers fan.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's obviously more excitement coming into this year than last year. Last year, I didn't think we were going to do a damn thing. So there you go. That's how you know. You know, even the most intuitive investigator can be wrong from time to time. But there's a lot of excitement, a lot of turnover. There's the 49ers are coming in with a lot of hype. I'm a little concerned about it. At the same time, I can't help but be excited. I'm a homer at heart. I try to leave that out when we do this, but pretty excited about the 49ers. And hey, that other red team, the Cardinals, made a lot of big additions this year. Especially
this is definitely a fun division to talk about, Kyle. We're going to hit all four teams here. We'll go over some team totals. We'll go over some chances to win the division, but also going team by team, some odds and ends, and just a nice lighthearted talk here is what we're designed to do. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, me and Kyle coming here live. This is preseason. Once the regular season ramps up, we're going to have some good Monday Night Football action, some Sunday football action, information all throughout the week right here at SportsBookReview.com, whether you're watching live in the chat box or watching on the replay. 66,800 people have already subscribed to the channel. Click that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, because whenever we go live, whether it's the NBA show, the Major League Baseball show, the soccer show, or both Kyle and myself right here on the NFL, along with college football, you will get it delivered directly to your inbox. Come into the chat box, say hello. Let's start to break it down here, because we like to go with these divisional teams and start with the lead dog, and that is your San Francisco 49ers here, Kyle. And what's not to like? Now, look, if you look at the wide receiver core, maybe a little bit younger this year, drafted a first-round draft pick, expecting big things from. But this is where I take a look at some other NFL teams, and I say, you know what? This could be an issue. But when you have, to me, a top 1, 2, or 3 play caller in the NFL as your head coach, guys end up wide open, not because they're good, they're schemed wide open. Shanahan's one of the best to do it. So I don't even worry about the young wide receivers. I get a little bit antsy, though, Kyle, I got to say, about looking at the quarterback position with Garoppolo. Loved the way he played last year, but got a little bit alarmed as you got into the playoffs, where it turned into, just don't lose this game for us and don't go out here and win it. And when it was all said and done, a deep ball to Emmanuel Sanders could have won the Super Bowl for the 49ers, came up just a little bit off. But that's how close it was to holding Lombardi and sharing it over with the Kansas City 49ers here, Kyle.
This close. That throw was this close.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you what, for that, I had everyone in their right seats, so they were all in the seats they were sitting in the first half. I'm a very superstitious fan. It was this damn close. And you're right, there is some of that concern with Jimmy Garoppolo, but Kyle Shanahan schemes it so well. And you brought up the young wide receivers. Deebo Samuel may not even be ready for the first couple of weeks of the season. He was running in practice, so that's a good sign. Obviously, we lost Emmanuel Sanders. We replaced him with Brandon Ayuk, the rookie out of Arizona State. Then he got hurt a couple of days ago. Good news today, as of right now, it's just a slight hamstring strain, so he should be good to go. And by all accounts, he's running the entire route tree. He looks great in camp. One of their coaches, I wish I could remember his name right now, says he's been with the team since 2013 and says he is the best looking rookie receiver he has seen with the team since 2013. So that's encouraging to see. The addition of Jerick McKinnon, now we added him 2 years ago in free agency. He's been hurt the last 2 years, but apparently he looks amazing in camp. So you're going to see a lot of 2 running back sets from the 49ers. You're going to see 2 tight end sets. Jordan Reed actually made his debut at practice today, and by their accounts, looked good in one-on-one drills. So you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. Of course, once Deebo Samuel is healthy, that's a huge addition to the team, because they're going to be running out guys like Kendrick Bourne and Trent Taylor and Dante Pettis. Like Trent Taylor has a nice rapport, Jimmy Garoppolo. So Dante Pettis isn't terrible. He's a second-round pick from a couple years ago, hasn't really flourished into what he needs to flourish into. My biggest concern for the 49ers is the loss of DeForest Buckner on the defensive line. They traded him to Indianapolis for a first-round draft choice, and he's one of the top 3 or 4 defensive linemen in the league. Now, that defense, they still have elite linebackers with Greenlaw and Alexander etc. They're going to be Fred Warner, of course, one of the best linebackers in the league. That secondary was the number one secondary in the league last year against the pass. I don't expect much regression there. There's some talk that they're thinking about bringing over Earl Thomas, which could work, with his rapport with Richard Sherman from, those Legion of Boom days in Seattle. Everything that I can see right now, the biggest, even Solomon Thomas, who's been basically a bust, they declined his fifth-year option for next year, is looking good in camp. So it's going to be a great defense. The formula is going to be the same. Run the football, play action pass, scheme guys open in the middle of the field off the play action. Kittle, of course. If Jordan Reed, if we can get one or two healthy games maybe out of Jordan Q. Reed until, Deebo Samuel comes back, I think you're off and running. It's going to be hard for teams to score on them, and they're going to run the football well. They have 3 excellent running backs and a quarterback who's not prone to turning the ball over. I mean, you're not going to see Mahomes numbers or these plays that make you go, wow, with Jimmy Garoppolo, the most handsome quarterback in the league. Sorry, Tom Brady fans, but boy, what a looker. And so I like the 49ers quite a bit this year.
Yeah, when you take a look at, some of the moving parts here, you're right. You get rid of a stud defensive tackle, but you draft one that you hope in Javon Kinlaw. You're still really deep. And again, we didn't see a lot of the D Ford last year at the end of the season being banged up. He comes back healthy, pair him with Eric Armstead and also Nick Bosa. It's one of the elite defensive lines and also one of the more athletic front sevens in the entire football. And then you look at the back end, it's matched up. That defense is going to hunt. And I don't worry about the offense because, again, we're not dealing with, turnover in the coaching staff. You have a coach that is going to dial up dimes all game long. It's just up to Garoppolo to make those completions. Now, also, you take a look, say, oh, my goodness, Joe Staley retires. You replace him with Trent Williams. That is a really good defensive or offensive line. And you bring up a good point here. We know George Kittle, to me, is the best tight end in football. If you go 1, 2, 3, maybe Kittle, Kelsey, and then also Zach Ertz out of Philadelphia. But just looking at the matchup that Jordan Reed can have, if he stays healthy, it's not so much to me, Kyle, even if he catches passes, he's a super athlete that can take the top off the safeties, run through, and that opens up everything else underneath. And the one thing I love about Kyle Shanahan is they don't run the football to keep the defense honest. They run the football to hit home runs with those speed backs. So as long as you get some decent outlets for the wide receivers where they just catch the football, they don't have to be all world, doesn't have to be DeAndre Hopkins over there or Julio Jones. Just keep the defense honest. This team is going to eat in a very good division. When we take a look at some of the odds for the division, again, the 49ers, you're not getting a bargain here. For them to win the division, which is a tough division, they're minus 105, and they're sitting at a team total of 10.5 plus 100. So you could probably get 10 with a little bit of juice. And I think they're a 10-win football team, even though it's a tough division. I still like what I see. Now, also, Kyle, I want to ask you the same question that I bring up year after year from the Super Bowl loser. There sometimes is a hangover saying, oh, woe is us. We lost. Boy, we should have won the Super Bowl, and trying to snap back. No fans in the stands. I think Shanahan has these guys ready. They're going to be a player, and to me, still the best team in the NFC West.
Yeah, I agree. And you brought up the team total over. This is where it's a great example to go to sportsbookreview.com and shop those books, because you're getting anywhere from plus 105 to minus 115. So you want to make sure you shop the books and get the right number on this, because you're like you said, you're not getting a ton of value here. And the Super Bowl hangover is something I looked a lot into. I just think this team is built a little bit different. Their defense is so good. It's hard to see a giant regression out of that defense. And I love the addition of Trent Williams replacing, the 49ers legend, Joe Staley. When you're a running team and you stop the pass, I mean, they were second in the league in rushing and number 1 in pass defense. That's a recipe to win, and I don't see a lot of regression there. Now you're bringing Jerick McKinnon back, so your backfield's only getting better with Mostert and Tevin Coleman. Lots of options, lots of ways they can win. And you brought up Jordan Reed taking that safety off the top. One of Kyle Shanahan's favorite plays, one of Jimmy Garoppolo's favorite plays is that play action fake with the 2-back set. Deebo Samuel comes across the middle, and his run after the catch is absolutely electric. This team should be very good. You mentioned this is probably the toughest division in football, top to bottom, I would say right now, with the expected progression of Arizona. It's going to be tough. 10.5 is a big number. It is when you're expecting a team in a tough division. You could see a scenario where they split with every team in the division and go 3-3 in the division. So then you've really got to win these out of division games. But when you look at the schedule, they start now. We talked about this in that early video we did way back when the schedule came out. The NFC West is going to be traveling thousands and thousands of more miles than any other division in the league. So there is some of that concern, heading from the West Coast to the East Coast. But when you're traveling, you get the Jets, you get the Giants, you get the Dolphins. Then it's the Rams and Patriots. So there's some tough games there. Packers, Saints in there. So the Bills, the Cowboys, you do get Washington. So I could understand the argument where you're like, I see the 49ers right about 10 wins, and 10 wins could probably win this division just because they're going to be beating each other up. And it's such a tough schedule for everyone else in the division. But right now, I think the 49ers are the cream of the crop in the division. I might lean going right at 10 wins. I know it's my team, but I don't know if I see 11 or 12 wins again from they're not going to surprise anybody this year like they did last year.
No, you're certainly not going to do that. And also, you're coming on. This is a big year for Jimmy Garoppolo because he performed extremely well in the regular season. If you're going to get that same type of production out of him from the regular season, I don't think there's going to be any issues. But it was always it falls back like, I let this one slip away. They didn't trust me in the Super Bowl. They sort of put it in my back pocket because you saw some of that even in the playoff game with the Minnesota Vikings, where you said our defense is so good here. Just don't throw a dumb interception in our own, in our own side of the field or in our negative 30, and we're going to be okay. And they sort of put it away and said, let's run, let's be careful and dominate on defense. And the strategy worked, Kyle, right up to the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. You're saying, oh my goodness, Andy Reid's going to blow another big game. We should have known this already. Yep. And one blown third down, 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 20 that went deep to the Cheetah. And the game sort of got away from them. And I lost my bet on the 49ers. I lost my team total bet on the 49ers. So I'm salty a little bit on the 49ers. But it still has got the semblance of a really good football team in a tough division. Let's get to the second place team. We're going to go a little bit further up into your neck of the woods here with the Seattle Seahawks at plus 240 to win the NFC West in a team total of 9.5. I am one of those stands out here that takes a look at their quarterback, Russell Wilson, and says, if Russell Wilson wasn't a part of that franchise, they're a 4-win team every single year. They have 0 offensive line. They put together like an old school mentality of let's run it and just see what Russell Wilson can do. Maybe we'll throw it deep because Russ gets 5 to 6 seconds back there by juking everybody, and we'll get big plays, and we'll lead on the 12th man at home and play some good defense. That's no longer the case. When you're looking now, and this comes in again with some of the stuff we're talking about, how loud can the home field get? They're talking about in the NFL. Well, maybe we'll let 70 to 80 decibels come in. Well, it's well over 100 typically in Kansas City, New Orleans, and also in Seattle. How loud can they turn it up? What are they allowed to do? But a big reason why Seattle is Seattle, it's a far place to travel for most of the NFL, and you're going to get hit with an avalanche of sound along with a really good football team. A lot of stuff comes into this as well. Defensive line, is Jadeveon Clowney going to be back? Doesn't look like that. So that's going to be a downgrade of their defense. But whenever you have Russell Wilson, I just pencil it in and say, unless he gets hurt, they're going to be there in the end, either A, to win the division, B, to make the playoffs, or be close to double-digit wins. When I see a team total around that 9 range, I almost auto-fire, even though now this is a much better division than what it was just a couple years ago, but you still have Russell Wilson. I'm still high on Seattle just because he's that good, Kyle.
Right, and it's a great point. If you even look at the Seahawks against the spread, every game the Seahawks play, last year they played the Bengals and it was a 2-point game, 3-point game. So they're 8-9 and 1 against the spread, 12-6 record overall. They're going to win the close games because Russell Wilson is absolutely incredible in those close game scenarios. But you're right. The rest of the roster isn't great. That defense was terrible last year. They were 27th against the pass, 22nd against the run. Now, obviously, they made a huge offseason splash with Jamal Adams, but I have to give Seattle credit because they had the best offseason story in all of sports. When the young man, Kima Sivaran, tried to sneak in his girlfriend dressed up as a male NFL player, and somewhere Bill Belichick is going like this, like, ooh, this is my kind of guy. I can't believe he hasn't been signed yet. It's the most hilarious story I've heard in a long time, probably since the Dolphins offensive line coach and, all the rest of that.
Yeah, the Dolphins gate,
Yeah, Dolphins gate. I absolutely love this guy. I hope he gets signed. I really do. I think it's absolutely hilarious. But you're right. The rest of the roster, there's some stuff to be desired. They're going to have good linebackers. They drafted the kid in the first round out of Texas Tech. I don't know how good a linebacker, any defensive player can be from Texas Tech. Don't they give up 7,000 points a game?
That's true. Yep.
Darrell Taylor, I know their second round pick's a little bit banged up, but they're going to DK Metcalf looks like an absolute monster, and he's only going to get better. So you've got Lockett, you've got Metcalf. They bring in Greg Olsen. They did bring in a few guys to sort of shore up that offensive line. B.J. Finney, Brandon Shell looks like he's going to compete for a starter spot. One thing to keep an eye on is the running back position. Seattle runs the ball more, one of the most high volume rushing teams in the league. And a lot of that is because of Russell Wilson, but they give the ball to Chris Carson a lot. Now, Rashad Penny, who was their second round pick from a couple years ago, he was starting to come along because Chris Carson at times has fumbling problems. They turn the football over. Well, Rashad Penny, of course, we saw that last game, second to last game, where he ruptured his knee, Achilles. He's going to be gone for a while. So they bring in Carlos Hyde, who I think is a really nice compliment to Chris Carson, especially if he's having fumbling issues. So they're going to run the football. They're going to try to protect Russell Wilson. They're going to have zero pass protection, but it seems like it's impossible to sack Russell Wilson. So it's a tough division. That number at 9, yeah, that feels about right to me. I don't hate going the over just because you're right. With Russell Wilson, it's going to be double-digit wins. They're going to be there till the last week of the season. Let's see. Do they play the 49ers again the last week of the season? Actually, on my birthday, they play the Seahawks this year on January 3rd. There you go. So if you're paying attention early, that game very well could be for the division like it has been the last few seasons, especially last year. The Niners needed to win that game to win the division and secure the 1 seed. They were right in it last year, and look at their defensive numbers without Jamal Adams. They brought back Bruce Irvin. They brought back the Benson Mayowa from their 2013 Super Bowl team. Interesting team. I think you take the over here because you're right. You can almost pencil them in for double-digit wins, even though it's not a great roster.
Yeah, it looks, and they brought in some help. They traded a lot of draft picks away for Jamal Adams, who's an absolute flat-out stud, maybe the best safety in football. That's going to help them try to rebuild that moniker back when they used to have Earl Thomas. But when you look again, I don't even pay attention much to the offensive line because it almost seems to me, Kyle, the worse the offensive line, the better Russell Wilson plays because they just say, you're playing street football. Hey, just let him in. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and here comes the pass rush. Jukes 2 guys, rolls out left. He could run for 10 yards, or he just gives a dump pass off for 15, 20 yards downfield. But they are built, they're so backwards to what the NFL is supposed to be on offense, where you say, hey, Russ is worth his weight in gold, but we really want to lean on the running game. And they have a ton, like Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Rashad Penny, and then the Miami boys, Travis Homer the year before, now DJ Dallas, who was a very good running back for the Miami Hurricanes last year. You have 5 guys that you could rotate in. So who's fumbling, who's injured, who's hot, who's not, you can roll that in. And it just continues to compound itself. Russ makes this team go. The defense should be good, but again, when you go to Seattle, the other team can't hear. You go to Seattle this year, the other team's going to be able to hear. That's part of that big strategy. You say, hey, it's hard to win in Seattle. You want home field advantage. Nobody wants to travel to Seattle for the playoffs or a road game, Monday night, Sunday night, whenever it is. That's not going to be there. So when you try to factor that in, it's hard to quantify because I'm still waiting, and we're gamblers. It's what we do at sportsbook.com. When you're trying to get information, we want to know exactly what the setup is, because if they're going to say on game day, hey, Seattle, you could turn it up to 140 decibels because you're always loud and Jacksonville can only have 30 decibels. I need to know that because that's a monster advantage. But just looking overall at the team here, I'm a big fan of Russell Wilson. The team has enough talent to go on. You're right. DK Metcalf, big fan of. Tyler Lockett is a decent wide receiver. David Moore. They have enough to win with. Get a healthy year to Will Dissly. And I think they're going to get that 9 wins, but I don't think they have enough, specifically, again, if we're not going to have any fans, enough to beat the 49ers. And that's really what it comes down to for me. Yeah,
that's a great point. You can argue they have the biggest home field advantage in the entire league, maybe with New Orleans or Kansas City. And it's a huge, huge factor. I mean, just think of all the false start penalties the opposing team is not going to get that Seattle normally would have. And again, that defense needs all the help they can get. Now, Jamal Adams is certainly going to make a difference. I don't know if one safety is going to turn you from a bottom 10 defense to a top 10 defense, which I think you're going to need in this division and in this conference. So I think the crowd noise is a good point. It's going to be interesting to see. We already know fans will not be there to start the season in Seattle and in LA and in San Francisco. I think Arizona is the one wild card where they might say, hey, yeah, bring in whoever you want. And then I kind of wonder, so if they don't allow fans in one stadium and they pump in the crowd noise, then they let 15,000 people come in Arizona. That's not going to be as loud as the crowd noise they're pumping in. So do they still get to pump in the crowd noise with the fans? How the hell does that work?
To be honest, Kyle, I don't even understand why they're debating this. Like, if the telecast is the only thing that matters, if the fans watch the telecast and you can pump it through the telecast where big play, you turn it up, home team, you can turn it up on third down. So the fans sort of get the idea that they're in there and it's a home field crowd. And if you want to put, cardboard cutouts in the stands or CGI fans, and that's fine. But I don't understand the point of actually turning it up when there's no fans in there. If you want to put that monotone white noise in the background, like some people like me, I can't fall asleep without the TV on in the background because I need some sort of noise. Maybe they do that and just set it on like 15 decibels where it's just like that din of crowd noise that enough so the other coaches can't hear the other players talking to each other. You know what I mean? But I don't see the point in I score a touchdown and we just turn up the volume even though nobody's in the stands. It doesn't make any sense to me, Kyle.
No, it's weird. Maybe you give the home team an advantage, like, hey, what kind of noise do you want? And the guy's like, can we pump in a bunch of the other coach's ex-wife talking and maybe throw him off his game a little bit while she's, hammering him in the background? I don't know, something. It's weird, and they've had so long to prepare for this. Think about this happened at the perfect time for the NFL. The Super Bowl had finished. The fans were full. They saw how the other leagues were handling it. It's so weird to me that it took so long for the NFL to get their crap together and get this done. And now they're still kind of scrambling for how this is going to work. Bad job by the NFL on this, but I am interested to see how it works. I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, Justin Grammer says here in the chat box, so we're going to have 13,000 fans in Miami, but none in most other stadiums. How's this fair at all? NFL should say no fans anywhere, no special treatment. I would tend to agree. And also when you're taking a look at, if you've ever been to one of the newer stadiums, I'm not talking about like old Veteran Stadium or, Candlestick Park out there in San Francisco. These new stadiums have a spaceship-looking technology department that runs their game day facilities. Right. All the ribbons that go around, the scoreboards, the music, the guys announcing the games, the PA announcer. If you've ever seen, it's pretty amazing to look at. Is there going to be an NFL guy standing there, Kyle, that says you can't turn the decibels up? Because if I'm the home team and I'm the GM and I'm the president and I say we got a huge third down late in the game, blast that to the speakers, go out and say, I don't know what happened. The other team could, I wasn't my fault. I turned it up to 68. And just because it says 178, that wasn't my fault. Who's going to monitor this stuff? Because you're not going to stop the game and say, wait a second, there was a sack. The decibels were 3 too high. You got to replay this game again. It could be a mess. Just keep this out of it for me, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just get with the uniform system. Like you said, pump it through the TV, let them play on the field and call it good. It's just ridiculous. And it's a great point. You want it to be fair for everyone. And,
and as gamblers, like we want, like you're a big DFS guy, we're big gamblers. You want it to be even. You don't want to watch and turn on. It's like, this isn't fair. Like I bet the Kansas City Chiefs and there's no crowd noise, but then the following week I'm listening in another stadium and I can't hear that the decibels are up so loud. We can't, you have to have a uniform policy. And I can't believe the NFL is, and again, I think I'm thinking about this way more than the NFL competition committee is saying. Right. And I know what coaches are going to say. You already saw Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills say, why does Miami get 13,000 people there? And I'm going to come home the next week and I don't have any fans. You have to make it uniform. And coaches are the first ones where you'll be sitting there and be like, that sounds a lot louder to them than it does to me right now. I know where this is going, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it's weird for the NFL, right? Because normally Roger Goodell is the hammer. Like, hey, I'm the judge, jury, and the executioner. But now all of a sudden it's, we're going to let everyone get it together, make a uniform code. Let's get it done. You got 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Knock off the nonsense.
No problem at all. Let's keep moving, guys, here. We're going to go to the Rams preview. 440 plus 440 to win the NFC West and a team total of 8.5 plus 115. So probably the natural number on that is more closer to 8. And this is one of those teams that I think they're, Kyle, I like this. Like you got the Cardinals that we're going to talk about, the come-up team. You always have the stalwarts at the top of the division, the 49ers in Seattle. The Rams peek their head up, then drop down. Is it a chance for them to come up now? They make the big deal for Jalen Ramsey last year. Doesn't work out as what they thought it would be and make a long run getting back to the Super Bowl. But you still have talent there. Cooper Kupp at wide receiver, Robert Woods at wide receiver, Josh Reynolds at wide receiver. And something's about this water out in California because you have good play callers, obviously, that we talked about the 49ers also as well. well that you're going to have with the Los Angeles Rams. Still a good veteran offensive line, some talented, at the tight end position. Malcolm Brown's going to take over that role as lead running back. You got some speed in Darrell Henderson. Cam Akers was a draft pick in the second round, another speed type guy. So they have a lot of options here that you could see McVay working in. And two of the best play callers in the NFL are going to be lining up in the same division. You have a stellar defensive line. Some questions to me at linebacker, a decent secondary, but obviously you get Jalen Ramsey. Really, you're saying that secondary is very good just because we know what he is capable of doing. But I think this team gets forgotten about, Kyle. It's one of those teams that, can they make a run? Are they going to be hungry? And can they step back up to the plate and get to the Super Bowl, or at least make a run in the playoffs here?
Oh, I think they certainly can. And we remember that first NFL video we did way back. We're like, man, the Rams sort of, I believe it was Teddy said, man, the Rams stand out like a sore thumb. And they really do. Now, they did lose some players in that secondary. Eric Weddle retired, obviously. Nick Roby-Coleman went over to your Eagles. He's an outstanding man, slot corner. They lose Dante Fowler. Todd Gurley obviously leaves. I think that's more addition by subtraction there. I think it was too distracting trying to deal with how many touches were you going to give Todd Gurley? How healthy was Todd Gurley going to be? Now they get, you talked about the second round pick last year, Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown. They bring in Cam Akers. By all accounts, Van Jefferson's been running with the number one team, the rookie receiver out of Florida they drafted in the second round. I mean, they were still the fourth highest passing team in the league last year. Now, Jared Goff didn't look great. He certainly regressed. And that was some of that Super Bowl layover. You remember the Super Bowl the year before that, Patriots, Rams. Probably the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life.
I lost money on it. It was a terrible Super Bowl because it was
absolutely dreadful, and it kind of carried over. But you remember Cooper Kupp was hurt a little bit, and then they had the Brandon Cooks issue. Will he play? Will he not play? He shipped over to Houston. I think the Rams have too much talent to ignore. One big loss I wouldn't underestimate is the loss of their kicker, Legatron, Greg Zuerlein. Normally kickers don't really matter all that much, but he is, for a long time, been one of these weapons, especially, right before the half. If you've got 30 seconds and you can get to the opposing team's 40-yard line, you got a real shot at a free 3 points because he can kick so long. So that's kind of interesting. But, I mean, they added Leonard Floyd. They added A'Shawn Robinson. They already have, Donald, who's just, Aaron Donald's probably the best defensive line, if not best defensive player in the league. The play calling, again, you talked about the continuity. Now, they did bring in a new defensive coordinator in Brandon Staley. The defense did struggle a bit last year, especially against the run. They were 26th, but that secondary is going to be good. Aaron Donald is going to disrupt games. If Jared Goff can play consistently, the Rams could be a sneaky team, and it's probably the best value in this division. I know everyone loves the Cardinals, but plus 600 on a team who was just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, I think it's I think there's some nice value there.
Yeah, it's time to put up or shut up for Jared Goff for me. You got the big contract now. You're in the big city. You got the big stadium. You got talent all around you. You got to be one of those guys where you could put it on your back and win a football game. It just seems like when you are, what are we going to get out of Jared Goff? And he can't handle the pressure when he goes on the road. And look what he did in the Super Bowl under the bright lights. There's something to be said about that. When you see guys like even, in that same draft class where Carson Wentz went number 2, replace Jared Goff with Carson Wentz on the Rams. And we're talking a Super Bowl run here. So it's time for him to step up, earn that contract at number 1. We all see him on, the Hard Knocks, and he's playing golf in his backyard, and he looks the part, and big, strong, fast, looks like a surfer out there, fits perfectly out there in LA. Time for this kid to step up and win some football games. But overall, it's one of those teams that, again, I just get back to, you try to buy on the comeback up as opposed to going down, where they're in the Super Bowl, they're going to win 12 games next year. They don't. And now you're saying, like, everyone's like, team stinks. But when you look man for man, and again, a lot of this has to do with me, Kyle, is what type of coaching staff is going to put you in the right position. If there's one guy that I think can fix Jared Goff or still keep that offense clicking, it's going to be the head coach of the Rams, and that's certainly going to be the case and looking forward, because when you take a look at their trends, this isn't a bad football team. As much as we want to kick dirt on them, 11-13 wins, they get to the Super Bowl. And last year, you might have thought they went 6-10. They still won 9 games. The talent is there where maybe a plus 440 shot might be worth it here.
Yeah. I was finding books at plus 600. I'm all over that.
Yep.
And one other thing that I liked about this team, they were the number 2 team in the league against the spread. Yep. They were 10-5-1, just behind Kansas City. I thought that was really interesting. It shows you they were competitive in a lot of games. One of those close games goes their way. They're 10-6. They're in the playoffs. So they don't have far to climb. They didn't lose a lot. I think probably their biggest loss is Nickel Roby-Coleman. I know everyone wants to talk about Todd Gurley, but I think replacing him in the slot will be the biggest hurdle for them. If they can do that, rush the passer, Aaron Donald stays healthy, I think the Rams are a really nice, interesting pick. And I love the over. Like I found one plus 110 over 8.5. I'm smashing that.
Justin Grammer says, question, yes or no, are you a believer in Goff? I don't think I am. And look, right now, I'm no. How about you, Kyle? Right now, I'm a no on Jared Goff. Even I think he could be a good quarterback, but right now, I need this guy to win a big football game. I'm going no right now.
Yeah, I'm going no. I would go no. If this was if we were going into the divisional round on the road against, say, Philly or someone, I'm a no. But to get over 8.5 wins, I'm a yes.
We got the big boys in the division out of the way, and pulling up the rear here is the Arizona Cardinals, currently sitting at 8-1 to win the NFC West. The team total at 7.5. And just to take a look at how well this division should play out, Kyle, we're not talking about 4-win teams, 5.5, 6s. You got 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, and 10.5. That should tell you how good this division is probably going to be on the field. And look no further than Arizona. This is a team that you saw some of the semblances of, again, a young play caller in the NFL trying to take that Texas Tech, shootout system into the NFL. You have an exciting young quarterback that can do it all in the backfield. Very hard to get a hold of. But the problem with him is the same way you look at Lamar Jackson, how much can he hold up? Can he take 10 years in the NFL on that little frame? You get Larry Fitzgerald, you get Christian Kirk, and oh yeah, you get DeAndre Hopkins coming over. And also Andy Isabella, the small wide receiver from UMass, a speed burner. They have everything you need at wide receiver so you can get after it on offense. And you take a look at the running back position. Kenyon Drake was a great move for them. Banged up at the running back position. Hey, Miami stinks. Let's just go see if we can pick off a running back. He worked out really well. So you have some guys, Benjamin Eno coming in also Eno Benjamin coming in from Arizona State. There's some young talent out there, and the defense, I think, is one of those where you look at and it says, you know what? When you think Arizona, you think offense and you could score on them. I don't think it's going to be the case. Budda Baker just got made the highest paid safety in NFL history. You still have Patrick Peterson there. Jordan Hicks, the middle linebacker who played very well in Philadelphia. As long as he's healthy and on the field, is a game changer. Chandler Jones can get after the quarterback. There's a lot of pieces on this Arizona team to make. To me, it's actually a shame they're in the NFC West because of how good that division is. If they were in a division like, let's just say, back in the old NFC East, yes, the Phoenix Cardinals were in the NFC East. They could do some damage because they could knock off the Redskins and the Giants and maybe even fight with the Eagles and try to step up to the Cowboys. But this is a tough division for them. I still like them this year. They're going to put up points to me, and I'm a team totals guy.
Those Jake Plummer NFC East Phoenix Cardinals.
Correct.
Winning those playoffs. Absolutely. It's a great point you brought up about the secondary. First, let's get to the DeAndre Hopkins thing. This is how this worked out. We all play fantasy football, and this kind of made me cringe when this trade happened, because as a commissioner, you always have that one guy in the league who makes the dumbest trades in the league. And so you try to go through, and usually in my case, it's my buddy Jeff. My buddy Jeff is always trying to hunt on the week in fantasy football. And you tell him, dude, just please don't start offering him dumb trades. So then the dumb trade happens for Hopkins for David Johnson, which is just mind-numbingly awful. And it's just the Houston Texans. I cannot wait to bag on them in the next division, and they get DeAndre Hopkins. But the secondary is a great point. Last year, that secondary was dreadful. They were second worst in the league. And Patrick Peterson, he missed the first 4 games. Remember, he was suspended. Then he came back. He just didn't look like himself. And they had that young kid, Kevin Peterson. He looked good. You mentioned Budda Baker. It was bizarre because it just didn't seem normal. When you think Cardinals, you think Patrick Peterson, shutdown corner, top 3 in the league. You think they're going to be so good, but tight ends up the middle really destroyed this team last year. If I'm remembering back to my fantasy football stats from last year, I believe they allowed the most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. It was a position you always wanted to attack, and it was really weird. They were a good running team. They were just bad defensively. I like the addition of Devon Kennard. They brought in Devondre Campbell from Atlanta, who was a tackling machine for Atlanta. This team should progress. I expect, especially with, like you talked about, Budda Baker getting that huge contract, this secondary should get back to normal. And if that happens, instead of looking at a 5-10-1 team, you could be looking at a 8-8, 9-7 type team. And even against the spread last year, 9-5-2, it shows you how well they played against some of those better teams in the division.
No, I completely agree with you. And it's going to go, they're going to go as far as Kyler Murray does. In the most part in the NFL, especially with these young quarterbacks, you want to continue to see them take that step forward. And the best way for an actual organization to help him is say, hey, look, we're going to fill in around the blanks. We don't need you to go out here and, throw for 350 yards with a bunch of water bugs out here and really make it happen. How about we go about and get a top 5 or top 3 or top 2 in some people's books with a wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. You have speed. You have Larry Fitzgerald who's open every single play. Maybe he can't get deep like he used to, but if he's in one-on-one coverage and you throw it up for grabs, that's his ball. Same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. You have 2 guys that can destroy man-to-man coverage, and then you have the guys like Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella that can hit the home run. So if Kyler Murray's back there scrambling around, looks up, somebody's going to be wide open in this offense, and I think they're going to do some damage. I think their defense can hold up in that division, but I do like them for points because, again, you're talking about Cliff Kingsbury in that offense. They're going to run fast. There's going to be extra plays. So not only extra plays for the Arizona Cardinals, also extra plays for the other teams that play them specifically in the division. This is exciting. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean
No, go ahead.
And they run 4 wide receiver sets more than any team in football. So you're going to see all those wideouts on the field, and Kenyon Drake's an excellent receiving back out of the backfield. So it's going to be it kind of harkens back to those old Houston Oiler, Warren Moon run and shoot teams with Lorenzo White and Curtis Duncan and Hayward Jeffries. I'm probably revealing my age a little too much here, but it's a lot. They're going to be a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to be smashing the total overs every time Arizona plays.
Now, when we take a look and wrap up this division, because, again, this is one of those divisions where you just want to say, I like to go over on every team, but obviously they play each other. We can't just go over on every team.
Right.
If I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm being honest with myself, do I think they're an 8-win football team? I really do, but they're really an 8-win football team if they have, like, maybe the Cincinnati Bengals, or, again, like I talked about the NFC East, if you can go up against the Giants, or if you can go up against the Redskins. Some of those teams are when you play, you're going to step in and be favored. They're going to be, look, home field advantage, who knows what it is. So obviously we don't know if it's worth 3 points, 4 points, 2 points, 1 point, or no points this year. But if you're lining up the Arizona Cardinals on a neutral site against the San Francisco 49ers, San Francisco's probably going to be favored. Same thing with Seattle, and same thing for the Rams for the most part. So they're going to have to overachieve this year and get those 8 wins. If I'm looking at the 7.5, it's hard for me to say, but you have to take some teams under the division. I would lean under with the Cardinals in the division. I would lean over. It's hard to look. 11 wins in the NFL is amazing. So I still would lean under with the 49ers because I think that 10-win plateau, Kyle, is going to take the division down. If I'm looking at it, honest to God, if it's 8.5 plus 115 with the Rams, the real number is 8. My favorite bet in this division is at least the Rams to get to 8 wins. That's what I like here.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm actually sitting here looking at the Cardinals' schedule, trying to find 8 wins. So you got, week 2 at Washington. You can give them that, or against Washington. Then you've got Detroit. So there's 2, Carolina 3, the Jets 4. And then they've got the Cowboys, Seahawks. So 5 with the Dolphins. And then it's hard to find another win. It's Seahawks, Patriots, Rams, maybe the Giants. So maybe you see them get to 6. They're going to have to win a couple of these greasy games against some better teams and grind it out to get to that total. So I agree. I like the Rams pick. And I actually think I'm starting to lean more towards liking the over in Seattle just because they always win these damn close games, even though they're outmatched. And I think you're right about the 49ers. There's going to be – the 49ers shouldn't have been a 13-win team anyways. It was weird. I thought that Green Bay and the 49ers were certainly better. But to me, it was strange. They didn't feel like 13-win teams to me. They got kind of lucky in that shootout in New Orleans. So I don't hate to, especially with all the questions at wide receiver and if Deebo Samuel's going to be healthy. And so I think I'm right there with you. I think I'm taking the under on the 49ers and the Cardinals, and I'm taking the over on the Rams and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think it makes sense here, and that's going to wrap it up for the NFC, but one of the best divisions in football, top to bottom. It's going to be fun to see these guys kick off the season, and we're going to roll all the way through till Super Bowl Sunday. So we got like 6 months to get ready. The job of these shows in the NFL preseason, just wet the taste buds a little bit. Say, you know what? Let's get that feel. Let's get that building up momentum until we get the game week in the NFL, which is September 10th, again, between the Houston Texans and also the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to start on the AFC, and that's going to start on a Football Friday. I love Football Friday. Is one of my favorite things, even though we don't have any games, Kyle, to actually call it Football Friday.
No,
but since it's Friday, we're talking football. let's just call it Football Friday here. So we'll keep it kicking out here. Thank you guys for watching here. A lot of people will watch also on the replays. If you want to retweet the show, fantastic. Give the thumbs up, give the thumbs down. As long as you're giving an opinion, that's all we care about here at sportsbookraview.com. And again, hit that subscribe button. We are going to do big things in football season. You're not going to want to miss out. Great team with college football that we have signed up here at sportsbookraview.com, and also myself and Kyle holding it down for the NFL. We'll do it again on Friday, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance, sportsbookraview.com. This is your National Football